Hello, all. Welcome to Model All Done. My name's Tom. Dunn is the last name. Uh, I think you get the idea. Today, today I'm working on the Soviet 45 millimeter anti-tank gun. Actually comes with. It's made by ICM. As you can tell, the box is pretty beat up. I got this at a small hobby shop down in Norfolk, Virginia, and I think he had it listed at $5. I see $5 and it's sold. There's the different types of wheels, different types of tubes that you use for whether you want to go with artillery, being anti-tank or anti-aircraft. The shorter barrel was the earlier version. The longer barrel was the later version. By later meaning 1942. I liked the spoked wheels. That was the anti-tank version. The solid wheels, which actually had a little bit better tread, that was the anti-aircraft. I'm not going to take you through all the build. The model had four steps and one sprue. So it was fairly basic as far as the amount of parts. However, it was difficult because the directions were not that clear. Went together fairly well, except for the fact that some of the parts just didn't fit as well. The parts that kept it allowed it to move. For example, allowed the gun to go up and down, or the it to traverse left or right. That did not work well. The tires didn't work well, so I just ended up putting gluing it all together. Painted it Russian forest green, I believe the color is, and I first painted it in NATO black to give it some shadowing base, and then spray painted it with used my airbrush with, I said, the Russian forest green. It came out pretty good. Now, the one thing on this, I wish I had done a little bit more research on the gun prior to building it. Here, I'm grinding off their supports. Their front shield actually folded nearly in half. I'd say about the upper third of it folded down for better vision. And if on the box, you can see this L-shaped arm coming out from the front of the shield. And on the model itself, that is only two-dimensional. It's not three-dimensional. So I'm grinding it off, and what I decided to do was to, if you look right down below, in between the blue brush and the pink grinders, you'll see a small silver strip. That is a piece of pie pan I cut off, about 1/8 inch thin and about 2 inches long. And I was going to home make my supports for that front shield because I felt it added a neat feature to it. And it was something that in all the pictures I saw, you never saw those things folded up. Yet on the model, it was just in two dimension. And so I went ahead and grinded those off of each of the shields. And again, I wish I had done that before I had looked at painting it. Sorry about the zoom in there. Getting used to the new camera and actually doing these videos. But there you can see how small the piece is. And it had to be made sort of like a Z shape, like L on both ends. One end was angled dramatically because it had to be super glued to the shield. The other end was more L-shaped because it came out and had to be even with the hinge area on the front shield. So it was an L shape and then a very strong V shape on the other end. And I just used my straight edge and tweezers to build that up. And then what I did was I found where the best angle was on the shield and to keep the upside down L in the right place, and glued those on. That was a little challenging. because the pieces were pretty small. Also, if you look right there, you can barely see it on the white line. There's a gray bar there, and again, excuse me for not being off screen. Right underneath, now it's moved. It's right underneath the pink grinders. There's a bar there. The artillery piece also had bars that were on the side of what I'll call the right side. As you're looking down the tube in the fire, working into the gun, it's on the right side. There were 3 bars that were attached to that right arm, and the model did not come with those either, which I think would have been very simple, and I think they would have had enough room on a sprue. But what I did was, and you can see all 3 of them in the lower right-hand screen. You can see the longer piece that I cut off. It was, I believe it was 6 millimeter crafting wire, and got it at the hobby store. I think it was 99 cents. Might have been 10 millimeter. I think I got the 6 millimeter in brass. That was $2.49. So I used the just the metal. Here I'm pointing out where the supports are. You can see the hinges on the front, and that would be where it folded down. In hindsight, what I think, if I'd gone through the effort of putting those supports in, I think it would have been good if I had actually cut that along that seam, so that it could have shown how maybe on the gunner side that front panel is lowered down and sits on that support. Anyway, going back to the 10 millimeter metal bar, that was cut and glued onto the onto that arm, and I'll show that in just a very short second. There's nothing major there, although it was a little challenging getting that in place once the gun was already done. Those front panels on the shield, not very good the way they're meant to hold, stay on there. It was difficult keeping those on the gun throughout. But this is probably a pretty good look of before I weathered it, before I put the metal bars in there. I am going to have to paint those supports, because now the gun is painted. It hasn't been weathered at all. If you look on the right, on the tissue, those bars were kept on, and I saw different pictures. Some showed them with just rope. Others showed them with like leather straps. On that tissue, you'll see a J-looking piece of something. What that is actually dental tape, not dental floss, but dental tape. That's the reason I'm showing this without you being able to. You're only seeing my hand in the picture. I'm also doing some weathering on the piece right now, just using a sponge effect. Here I'm doing some streaking effect, using different browns. I also use panel wash throughout, and anyway, that's what I'm showing you there. Going back to the dental tape. The dental tape, I decided to use that for the leather strap, and I just painted it brown. I have to watch it because once it dries, because the dental tape is wax, the paint didn't stick so well to that. And then I ended up having to paint it again once it was on the tank. I'm sorry, on the... So anyway, just got the leather straps on where the poles were on there. They weren't the easiest to get on. But I did that brass wiring, and what I did was I cut it into probably about a ½ inch length. It didn't need to be that long, but it's hard to work with. As you can tell, picking up with the tweezers is challenging. Rounded it with these rounding off pliers. I actually found picking it up with the pliers was easier than picking it up with the tweezers. I just rounded it over to give it the look of a loop on a buckle, and super glued that onto the dental tape leather straps. So all in all, the model was It was okay. It was a little challenging for what it was worth, but added on a few things: the metal supports, the leather straps, the buckles, the metal bars that were not included in the kit, and then painted it up, weathered it, used the salt effect, and that did it. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.